I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard.
What's the worst thing you've tolerated to avoid confrontation? My flatmate will put my earphones in my food cupboard to tidy them away, but then leave all his dishes about the kitchen and living room. Not the worst, but so needlessly infuriating. I used to have a roommate and all she ate was fettuccine alfredo for all 3 meals a day, and she'd only eat half of it and just leave the bowl sitting there. So there were just bowls of half-eaten pasta scattered around the house, and if we asked her to clean it she'd get upset and yell at us for making her do all the work. Yet if anyone else in the house had even a speck of dust near them, she'd come in screaming, calling us lazy, telling us how horrible it was for her to live in such a mess. Once she tried to have me kicked out of the house for leaving a half-full can of pop lying around that she knocked over and spilled. It was half full because I just opened it and was in the middle of drinking it. Meanwhile there's fucking fettuccine everywhere. An emotionally abusive relationship where I was constantly on edge because almost every single conversation resulted in an argument or me being put down. One night he had a huge fight with my mother and I still went home with him. I immediately texted her to say he was being an asshole and that I actually agreed with her, but I didn't want to deal with the stress of him picking a fight with me about it. That was probably the defining moment that made me start to reflect and realize the relationship was unhealthy. My Master of Science supervisor taking 6 months to return drafts. By repeatedly doing this, he extended the time it took by 3 years. Eventually the department chair got wind of this and kicked his ass into gear. I wish I'd approached the chair sooner. Well, at all. My current work situation as of Tuesday. As part of my job I handle the timesheets for my office and my coworker checks them to see if everything is recorded correctly. If I make a mistake, I understand I need correction, but the way she's been handling it lately has been too much. Now instead of calling me over to her desk, she just lectures me in front of the entire office. Then sometimes she complains to subs about me within earshot, pretty much repeating what she said very loudly to my face. She's even made me cry once, but that was more frustration honestly. I'm an angry crier. I say as of Tuesday, because the last blow up over a timesheet error that I handled on my own was one too many. I finally had too much and told my sup it was bothering me. I'm hoping she can meditate between us so I don't start to panic every time I hear my coworker say a certain way. A new bid driver who rambled on and on to me that women shouldn't work, should cook and raise kids. Said repeatedly how his engineered daughter was a disappointment because she works and has his grandkids in daycare. This was shortly after I, a woman, told him I was traveling for work. I just nodded along praying my hotel was closer. Right now I'm tolerating an ex-roommate treating their GF and my close friend, separate people, like absolute shit, emotionally abusing and manipulating them. It's terrible and I hate. However, they live quite a ways away from me, and as things stand confronting him about it will only make things worse for the people I care about. So for right now I can do my best to be there for them and support them until they find a way to get away from him. It's terrible and I hate it and I wish I could just rip him a new one, but I've dealt with people like him before and I know he'll just take it out on everyone else and they won't be able to handle that right now. At my current job, my team leader was horrible to me when I started. Cruel to the point of being abusive. Normally I would not tolerate that for 1 second, but I had just left a job I had been at for 16 years and I needed this one until I could find another. It was incredibly difficult to take it without retaliating. I needed him to teach me what he knows. I'm a welder and the company has no blueprints for anything. Now they have laid off the other guy in my department, so it is just me and him, and now he needs me. So he has been very nice. The company is in the process of drawing up blueprints for everything, and with my 25 years of welding and fabrication experience I will no longer need him at that point, and since I continually work him under the table on a daily basis I may just have his job soon. Some of my family members are super vocal about their political beliefs and constantly bash on the other party, calling them idiots, saying people who believe those things should be jailed / burn in hell, etc. I happen to be of the opposite political party, so whether or not they realize it, they're insulting their own family member to my face. I don't say anything, because I don't want to make holiday gatherings awkward. Not me, but something I witnessed. It was late at night on a packed bus. Some giant sweaty dude came on, and was standing really close to this girl. As more people got off the bus, it got to the point where there was absolutely no reason for this guy to be standing anywhere near her, let alone full body pressed against her. She had her back turned, head down, avoiding eye contact and just waiting for that moment to be over. Well, apparently everyone on the bus that night was willing to tolerate this to avoid confrontation except 17-year-old me. Jabbed my fingers in his back 3 times and said, "Hey, you're suffocating her," in a sterner voice a teenage girl can manage. He got off that bus as quickly as possible to avoid confrontation. Edit. Wow, this got a lot of attention, and mostly positive. Thanks Reddit. For anyone wondering why she didn't just move away, she was slightly cornered, but mostly frozen. It's not fight or flight, it's fight, flight, or freeze. I usually freeze when confronted with a dangerous situation, but this happened when I was young, had just learned about the bystander effect, and was unaware how dangerous it was to confront this man. My last job. Just because I liked my workplace and the customer contact, but not my boss, and because I needed the money, I was the 23rd to leave over a period of 4 years since I started to work there. Basically, it was a party shop. Not even something high responsibility, but my boss acted like forgetting to suggest one complimentary purchase was a fucking big deal. The best days at work were when he wasn't there. He constantly harassed all of his employees but also customers, to the point where a lot of negative reviews on Google were his fault. One day he switched the schedule and didn't tell me, then called me when I was at home to ask where I was. I knew he would still be mad even if it's not my fault, and God how mad he was. Every reminder that I couldn't know was met with him yelling me that's not his job to babysit every employee, and that we have to ask him if we're not sure. There were 0 reasons for the schedule change. He concluded that if I'm not content with that, I can walk away. I came back to my desk, checked my bank account, took 5 minutes to think about everything, then took my stuff and told him I'm so over it, and that seeing other very nice and more than competent employees leaving one after the other was enough red flags for me that I should have left sooner. I was so proud of myself for the next several days before learning that a lockdown for covered is scheduled soon, so finding a job would be a nightmare. My childhood best friend. She was a toxic pathological liar, and once I stopped falling for her bullshit, she just used me for kicks and smoked with my brother. There were a few moments where cumulative feelings finally built up and me putting my foot down came off as being the bad guy. She'd re-enter my life at any old time she felt like it. Never acknowledged me when we went to the same school because she had a reputation to uphold. I would have left earlier if she wasn't my only friend, and we basically only petered out just after high school.